Next, I'm going to go into our rocket series and just some variations we do out of rocket. Out of curiosity, you guys are either running Flexbone or thinking about running Flexbone or option. If you don't have rocket, you got to have rocket. It's a D-gap play. It stresses the defense. I think it's the advantage of having the double wing is being able to run that rocket toss. Before I get to rocket, one thing I want to show you we started doing was just a fullback toss. Two reasons we did this. We got into a lot of kind of what I call super unbalanced looks, where we're going to have a 3-receiver set plus a covered tight end. So we're presenting 6 guys on one side of the ball, really stress the defense, make them shift. We wanted to be able to attack that edge without having the backside wing to run rocket. We started going to this fullback toss. So it's great out of our unbalanced formations. The blocking scheme is identical to rocket, although the technique is a little bit different. We're going to be working front side scoops instead of what we call run and rip like we do on rocket, where we're just turning and really trying to cross face. It almost looks like outside zone in some ways, the blocking way. You got to check your fullback back if you're going to do it, because he needs a little bit more depth so we can run that toss. And as I said, it was still development for us, so there's still some tweaks we got going on next year. All right, so here's an example of one of the various formations we do. This is our trip set. In our base trips, our wing is normally here, and then our Z receiver is out on the numbers. We add a tag. This is trips tight. Tight just tells our Z, hey, you come down in tight about 5 yards from end line of scrimmage. This gives them great blocking angles, and now it changes how the defense wants to defend. So as I said, we're just going to run essentially front side scoop. So if you notice everyone's scooping to the right, we're running toss right. Our wing, he's doing his arc blocking technique just like he would on veer. So his block now is at the line, which is different, but the technique is the same. It's no different than arcing up to a safety or arcing to a linebacker. The Z receiver, his changes a little bit based on what the safety does. You know, here the safety's playing off, so he's going to release. If the safety starts coming down, now that changes his blocking angle. But what we like is we'll get to this formation, we'll run fullback toss. How are they going to line up? We'll run toss, we get an idea of how they're going to line up, and now we'll say, okay, option, this double man option's good, or this triple option's good out of this formation. You know, like if they want to widen this dude out because they don't like kind of this two-man look here, so they walk out their end, well shit, now we'll just read that guy, it's going to be an automatic give right at the seam. Good formation for play action. We got into a lot of tight stuff with our Z receiver. Here's another example. This would be out of, I was talking about, you know, like a super unbalanced look. So this is our base trips, but then instead of having our tight end on the backside, we bring him over and we cover him. So it's an unbalanced look. What I really like about it, it's sort of a bind for the defense. You have a 3-receiver set, so it's like, okay, do we run our trips principles? You know, most teams have a certain way they like to defend trips. But now with this tight end in here, you also have run strength. So if a team wants to run their base, I just drew up against a 4-3 look. If a team wants to run their base formation, we have an extra hat, right? And that's the advantage. You know, you're always trying to get the extra hat, right? You know, I was listening to the single wing unbalanced. They're trying to gain numbers, right? That's kind of offense is all about numbers. If a team now wants to do some kind of slide, maybe they're going to say, well, hell, there's no one over here. Let's do corner over. They're going to bring the corner over. That's great. Now we can run triple option back to the dub, right? So, you know, using various formations to stress the defense and open things up is part of our philosophy. All right, and I got a film, by the way, of both fullback toss and rocket. Something else out of rocket, other than just running out of kind of your base stuff, we got into a lot of crack schemes. Here's what I love about crack schemes. It gives the defense a different look, and it creates great blocking angles. We get a lot of teams that start flying out on rocket because it's such an aggressive play. You know, we're tossing that ball outside the tackle. It's a D-gap play. Defenses start flying out. Well, now we can come and crack on them. The way we run it, the wide receiver is going to block the widest level 2 defender. This could either be an outside linebacker if it's like a 4-4 look. If it's a team with a 2-high safety, they're rolling safeties to motion. Now he's going to be cracking on that safety. Right, so we essentially say when the ball snaps, who's the widest level 2 defender, that's who you're cracking. Our wing, he hears crack, it's got a C in it, he's going to the corner. So he's taking his normal arc steps, but instead of working vertical, he's going to stay a little bit wider and then track out to the corner. Can run out of your base. We really like running out of the tight alignment out of our wide receiver, which is the preferred method for us. And then it also works great with veer. I have a couple of clips where I'll show you we run it out of rocket, get some big plays, team starts over adjusting, and then we come back with veer to put them on the inside of veer. Here's what that would look like on paper. So this is that unbalanced formation I've been showing a lot of, where the Z is normally out of the numbers. We call it U tight or unbalanced tight. Now he comes in. This would be our rocket toss right, and we have our crack scheme called. So he's working inside Safety's coming down. The wing is working his wide arc path, kicking out the corner. Most of the time, a lot of corners, like we coach our corners against crack scheme, hey, you got to replace. It's almost like a gap exchange for the defense. You see crack, then you got to come up and fill. So this guy comes up to fill. A lot of times, and you'll see on the film, that wing just kicks him out. And because you have that great angle from the Z, now that your guy getting the ball has an alley. This is also really good out of play action. So, that Mondovi clip I showed, one of the big plays we ran out of was we ran crack out of veer play action. That corner, he sees the arc release, he sees the inside release, he's thinking, oh, it's triple option, I got to fill, and then we run the wing on a wheel route for about a 40-yard touchdown play. And it was really only because of play action pass that we were able to even stay in the game in the fourth quarter. Here's another look out of that crack scheme. This is just against a 4-3 team here. What I did on this, instead of running the unbalanced formation, we run out of, this is like our base, we just call base tight. It tells our X and our Z, you both are coming into our tight alignment. Again, it can give you some blocking angles. It puts these corners in more of a bind. A lot of teams we play, their corners are cover 3 guys. They like to stay off, they're cover guys. When you get in this tight formation, you got to kind of decide, is your corner going to be sort of your force player, or are you going to bring the safety up? Well, now if you do that, you're kind of in a cover 3 against a double set. Most teams don't necessarily like to do that because of the 4-bird threat. So we found we got into this a lot of times on motion for rocket. Safety's rolling down the box. Corner was filling up outside. Inside blocking the crack. Kick out from the wing. Again, veer is a good variation off this as well. All right. Now, a couple other rocket variations we do. One thing we started doing, especially in the goal line of short yardage, we move that fullback. For those who maybe aren't familiar with rocket, he's going in motion and he's catching the toss basically outside the tackle. Like when it's clinic film, when it's executed well, it's way the hell out here. We actually coach, don't block a 4-techer in. So if this is a 4-tech, our tackles turn and run. If the 4-tech can get there, it means either he's an absolute stud, or more likely our backfield action was bad. It was slow, pitch relationship, the toss relation was poor. The problem with that though, because it happens so wide, your fullback can't lead block, he gets in the way. Well, maybe I want my fullback to lead block, maybe a short yardage, I just want to get my grind yards. We'll get into, we call it a rip or Liz adjustment, especially on short yardage. If teams are going to load the box, maybe they're like, F it, we're going to bring everyone. Well, let's run rocket to the edge. We'll offset our fullback, and now he can actually be a lead blocker. I have one on film where we don't take care of the D-line, and he should make the play, except because we're in our rip alignment, our fullback picks up the leakage, and we still have a good play. Although, other than that, all of the other rocket blocking is the same rules. One thing here, if you got a 9 and you run rocket, against a 9, you have to double team a 9. And this sticks up our wings when they're young at it, because they're used to just turning and running. It's like, hey, we got a tight end in here. Remember, the pitch is outside the tackle. It's not outside the tight end. So if this guy's a 9, he's turning and running, our tight end can't get there. The wing has to double team. And that throws the wings off a little bit, because they're used to seeing the tackle. They just turn it, they're working next level. Well, now it's a 9-tech, you got to double team with the tight end. The last thing here, and then I got, I think, film next. If you got a kid that can throw, halfback pass is great off a rocket. Absolutely phenomenal off a rocket. Our wing, I got the tape on it. He can throw the ball well. We get into our unbalanced formation here. We get our fullback to pick up any leakage. Corners on rocket, they're getting bitch jacked by their coach, so they start filling, and now you can run your Z on a go route. It's pretty effective. It's also effective if you get teams that like to play cover 2, where they're going to bring this corner down and play him either jam or like 5 yards, where maybe he's just going to sit flat, and once he sees toss, he's filling hard. That's a tough block for the Z. So we see that, it's a scouting thing, right? We put this in week 1, in 2-days, and we basically keep it in there until we see a team we like it against. And if that corner decides he's going to get up and try to make a play, then we'll go over their head. Any questions on rocket or technique stuff before I get into the actual film of it? Kind of see that toss I was talking about, those things. All right.
Well, 10 minutes.
Yep, perfect. I got 8 clips, so it should be fine. All right, so this is the just the fullback toss. This is that trips tight look I was talking about. So here's our Z receiver. Normally he's split out on the numbers. Now he's in tight. This gets the 3-3 stack team, and they did not want to get off their stack. So there, as you can see, we actually got a lot of space out here to the edge. Well, we're going to run toss to take advantage of that. One coaching point with this fullback toss, and something got better as the year went on. This is new to this kid running it. He doesn't turn it. He keeps his shoulders square, so he doesn't get as wide as we'd like. We'd like him to turn his shoulders to the sideline, get 2-3 steps in the ground, and then look back for the ball. See how he's kind of looking already. What I like about it is this Z has a great angle on the backer. We actually end up having more blockers than they can. They do defenders. Our wing gets up, everyone's scooping. Great angle. I mean, that's a huge seam out there. And we don't even block the corner. We still have a good play.
What is your lineman footwork on that?
On our scoops. So if he's got a head up on him, he's stepping play side foot, and he's trying to rip across face. If you run like slanty D lineman, we almost use the same technique for our slant technique. Okay. The backside guy, his job's a little bit more important. So if I'm scooping to my right, I'm going to step, and I'm trying to punch my buddy's hip. So that's his landmark. He's trying to get his hands on his hip, and he's basically following his buddy. If his buddy, once the guy next to him turns vertical, he's going to follow with that. Okay. If it keeps stretching, if the team is going to turn and run, it's going to stretch, and if his buddy washes, now he's going to bend back vertical. So it's on rocket toss, we call it like rip and run. So we're running 3 steps down the line, and then we're trying to rip and cross face. And it looks janky. I mean, it's kind of just a mess of bodies going. The scoop blocks are a little bit more refined. So 2 steps, try to work vertical. That's how it's, in theory, supposed to be done. It doesn't always translate. All right, I'll let this play through, and then I'll go to the next one here. This is a pretty good look at it. All right, so this gets that 4-3 team. So this is their strong safety. This is out of our unbalanced trips look. So we have 3 eligible receivers plus a covered tight end. They wanted to stay in their 4-3 shell. They brought their strong safety down. Well, we have numbers. They have a corner out here who's literally guarding no one. They got a corner on air. They have a free safety over the top. So that's a lot of grass out there. Let's run toss at it. So you'll see right here, this kid, first-year tight end, does not do a very good job with his block. He actually gets stabbed pretty good. Doesn't get off the ball, gets knocked back. Just kind of gets lucky on that. Our wing helps out though. So our wing right here, because he knows there's no edge threat, he actually can just work straight vertical. So he kind of cleans up. And this is a safety. He's thinking pass. He's used to trips and pass. He actually takes 2 steps back. And then triggers late. So see how he kind of gets out over that slot, and then he realizes late. He's also, kid's a sophomore, so that's part of it too. All right, just to look at rockets and the variation video. So this is that rip look I was talking about, where we just offset our fullback to the right. So now we're running rocket crack out of our tight alignment. You're going to see that this D end here, we don't do a good job against him. He actually gets in on the play. A lot of it has to do with our timing in the back, but by having that fullback over, he picks up that leakage, so we still have a good play. See how right there, he's behind the backside guard with the ball snap? That's awful. He needs to be in like the play side guard, so by the time the quarterback gets around, that toss should be happening almost out here by the hash. It's a super wide play. So the motion timing is way late, it's too deep. It's not a good play. There's leakage here, but that fullback is able to pick it up, and now we can cut off it. We still have a good play. I'll play it at full speed here and then slow it down. It's easier to see that way.
So the right tackle, he was responsible for that leakage?
No. So it looks to me like that guy's a 4. His rule is if it's a 4, don't block him. I think looking at it, obviously the end zone would be nice. If it's a 5, he's got to pick up the 5. If it's a 4, he's going to turn and go. The timing in the backfield is really the issue. Because the wing is so late, when he catches the toss, that guy has an angle on him. If he catches it outside, we're going to get to the sideline and get outside of it. So, all right. Because we've been doing that so much with our fullback, it would be a huge tendency. Like when we offset the fullback, we were going that way. So we get to Mondovi here, as I said, conference title. We're like, oh, we'll just put him to the backside. We'll call Liz alignment, but still run Rocket to the right, which it worked in practice. You'd be like, who cares? It's just a fullback move. But you see, it actually throws off the motion path of our wing here. Because that fullback now is offset, he has to bobble back a little bit, and his time is affected. It's one of those things that we didn't notice in practice, and then we're like, oh, let's break our tendency in the game. It's like, oh shit, that wasn't so good. The fix was you just got to move the fullback up. I included this one to show, though, just why Rocket's such a good play. This, as I said, good team. You're going to see they get a lot of flow, and it just takes one guy out of position for a big play. This was the first points Mondovi gave up the entire year. Hit that seam, and now we're down the sideline. So you're going to see they come fill and they fly. We get a great kick out. The D end overruns it. Number 2, 9. See how he just turns and runs and be the edge player. And then that safety is just off a little bit. I'll slow down here. There's strong safety on his fill. This kid right here. He's trying to fill the alley. He's just a little bit over the top. You get just enough on him, a little bit behind, excuse me. And now we're up the sideline. This is also too where if you get aggressive corners. So like this corner, he's coming up pretty hard on Rocket. Play action off of Rocket is also good down the sideline. See the rest of that. All right, a couple things out of crack. So here we're playing kind of a, I don't know, 4-3 team, I guess. They changed, they were jumping around on us quite a bit. This is out of that base tight alignment. So in a normal base, Z would be out by the numbers. Now he's in tight. He's going to crack on second level defender. That's this kid. You'll see number 2 comes up the field, and then our play side wing kicks out on that. At the edge, play side wing kicks out. Again, though, the timing on Rocket is so important in this back here. You'll see, again, we're snapping behind. It's not good. It's got to be a play side guard. This is one of those things where Rocket, we rep it a ton in 2-a-days, kids get it, and then as the year goes on, they get a little lazy or they get tired, they're not disciplined with it. That timing is super important. Then you can see when he catches it back here, well, now 77 is there to make the play. He's at the end. This is a better clip here. Our timing, we fixed this kid timing a little bit as the game went on. Again, we get a great seal block. Number 3 tries to trigger and be their outside force player. Our play side wing just makes a kick out, and now our wing has an easy cut up behind that block. A little bit better timing. See him now, he catches that toss, how it's real wide. He's pretty flat, which is good. 25 gets the kick out block, finishes nicely, and now we can cut up. Because we have that crack block, their edge defender, 80, I can't tell his number, I think it's 86 or something. Once we seal that, there's not anyone else there to fill. They were also trying to jump around. We got a quick count on them. All right, so we're running the Rocket crack quite a bit, getting some big plays. They're getting tired of it, so now what they're going to do here is they're going to send their D end and their outside linebacker, strong safety tight. He looks like an outside linebacker in this. They're going to just fly those guys to the motion. We knew they were doing that against Rockets, so it's all right, we're going back with veer on them. So now this is actually our true triple option. This is outside veer out of what would be U right tight. So tight end, covered by our tight receiver. He's cracking, and you're going to see when we go in motion, that D end flies out of him. So he's already getting outside. He's ready for Rocket to the field. He sees motion. See 50 cent, they both go flying out, and now we hit him with veer underneath it. You can't really get an easier read for your quarterback than that. Shoulders away. Tight end does a good job picking up the mic. There's 1, there's 2, and we're right at the seam for, I think it's a 10-yard gain, give it to the fullback. That's where having that crack scheme out of Rocket, it marries really well with the veer. Teams have to decide, are we going to fly to that Rocket? Well, if so, now you knife them back up inside. If they're going to sit, we'll keep working the edge.
Should you have blocked that at the corner, the guy right at the top?
No, he's number 2. So, I probably should have mentioned that, I'm sorry. Because we have this is outside veer crack. So now we go 1, 2. So and actually even if it wasn't cracked, we wouldn't need to because it was tight. So our Z receiver uses the elbow.
Oh, you're a triple.
Yeah, sorry, that was showing how triple marries well with this. So he knows he's one, so our Z's hold up his left hand. He goes, it's okay, backside gap, well, or man on in this case. He's number 2. I'm not going to block number 2, so now he's going to work next level. This is where if we had him way out here, now it's not an easy block. He's got to hold that a lot longer by moving him in. Now we're going to make the corner be the pitch defender. Well, all game, the corner wasn't pitch defender. The corner's fighting off a receiver block to tackle the pitch, and now all of a sudden he's the pitch defender. So by varying up our alignment, we can change their responsibility. We'll need to bet all week that corner didn't practice, how to take on pitch and how to feather and slow play and all those things. All right, I think this is my last clip here. This is that fullback or the halfback pass I was talking about. This is the playoffs. You'll see as soon as we go in motion, this guy's flat foot, and then he's triggering super hard. Our Z receiver is pretty wide open on the halfback toss play.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot of separation. The receiver, he gets inside. It'd be nice if he stayed out on his landmark a little bit better. This kid, he got a pretty good arm. Even if your kid doesn't have a great arm, if you got 10 yards of separation, you're probably going to have a good play. I'd like to see him, he comes inside and then stay out on the numbers. But still a good play. Not a perfect pass. This team knew we had it. We had ran it to them against them previous year. They knew we had it, but it's one of those things, we're looking in the box. I checked the iPad, hey, that corner, he's triggering hard on rocket. All right, halfback pass is good. I'll do it in slow motion here. Watch that corner. Flat-footed, he sees toss, he's up. He's not reading anyone, he's coming, right? Well, you gotta hit him. One thing when we block this, we teach everyone to still block it like rocket. So our wing and our tight end here who's covered, they're all turning and running. We like to offset the fullback, and now he's picking up essentially that B gap. So on the front side, they're turning and running, and then anything that maybe gets reached, or let's say they bring a blitz, he's picking it up. And actually, there's really no one there. You see all the linebackers are all flying over the top because they're used to rocket, and then we come back with that. All right, that's perfect timing with that.
So you said you open and rip on that tailback pass?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where it's more of a little bit of a modifier. So our front side tight end and tackle, they still want to sell it. And if we, that was so the tight end, he had a tight 9 or head up. That guy, we want to try and still fight to block essentially the outside C and D gap, right? Our guard and center, they're going to work essentially their scoop principles. And by offsetting that fullback, those two are going out, those two are staying here. Well, if someone were to come through there, the fullback's going to pick that up. Yeah.
So you don't open.
We're not, not entirely, but we want to make it look as similar to rocket as we possibly can. One thing on rocket, the blocking scheme is so much different than everything else we do, that if you're a linebacker and you see bodies turning and running, you almost know it's rocket, right? It looks way different. So we want to try to use that to our advantage. And oftentimes those backers, because they see rocket, we love running rocket against blitz, because we're out in the D gap and you're bringing guys A, B, or C gap, it's a good play. So a lot of times, even if teams are showing blitz and they see us turn and run, they're going to try and redirect. So that's where on that halfback pass, just by influence of the O-line, you really don't run into issues with the leakage. So. Again, here's my contact information. Feel free to email me at any time. Happy to talk ball. If you're a defensive guy, you're facing option, want to talk over things that give us problems, be happy to talk with you as well. I got time here. Happy to stick around afterwards. So I know our time's up, but if you got any questions, I'm happy to stick around and talk ball. So.